Thank you. Oh, I want to welcome our panel. Put on my distance glasses so I can see you.
Good morning and welcome to today's New York City Council hearing for the Committee on Environmental Protection, Resilience, and Waterfronts. At this time, we ask that you silence all electronic devices, and at no time is anyone to approach the dais. If you would like to sign up for in-person testimony or have any other questions throughout the hearing, please see one of the Sergeant-at-Arms. Chair Gennaro, we're ready to begin.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Councilmember Jim Gennaro, Chair of the Committee on Environmental Protection, Resiliency, and Waterfronts. Today we'll hold an oversight hearing on the New York City drought. Additionally, we'll be hearing two pre-considered intros sponsored by myself. One that would require DEP to develop a comprehensive stormwater plan and dashboard, and another that would require DEP to establish a program that transfers liability from engine idling violations to lessees of vehicles. Additionally, we will hear a resolution, also sponsored by me, that calls upon New York State to create a permanent citywide voluntary buyout program to mitigate flood risk. New York City's potable water infrastructure delivers about 1 billion gallons of water per day to millions of New York residents, as well as to some lucky residents in Westchester, Putnam, Orange, and Ulster counties. One more sip. Our tap water is widely regarded as among the finest in the world, and it is derived from surface waters, rivers, and streams that are fed by the rain and snow that falls in the Catskill Mountains. Now, some of you may be asking, why are we having an oversight hearing about the drought at all? It rained last week, it rained yesterday, and it's forecasted to rain tomorrow. Well, it's true that the city and our upstate watershed had a fairly normal November when it comes to rainfall, and December has been off to a pretty good start. The unfortunate reality is that our reservoirs are still far short of the water levels we normally have on hand at this point. Oh, come on. At this point in the year. I think we're about 20 points down, Paul, or something like that, 20 percentage points. It's supposed to be at something like that, right? I'm sure you'll speak to that. And we need sustained above average rainfall levels to cancel out the deficit caused by a paucity of rain in September and October. With climate change comes not only longer summers that increase our local water needs, but also more variable, less predictable weather patterns that must be accounted for. It is unfortunate that this year, the height of the drought has coincided with the beginning of the city's tree planting season. Trees are an integral part of the city's climate mitigation strategy. They absorb CO2 from the atmosphere, reduce stormwater runoff, and can significantly cool the streetscape. They can also cost up to $3,500 per tree to plant. This is according to my staff. I did not make up this number. It seems like a lot. Newly planted trees are among the most vulnerable to dehydration, so I am interested in hearing from the administration how newly planted street trees can be protected from potential droughts. I'll just make note that it was the Parks Department, upon hearing of this hearing, that they wanted to participate and give their thoughts and answer questions, and we are grateful to the Parks Department for keeping an eye on our trees and paying attention to what this committee's doing. I'd also like more, back to the text, I'd also like more details on how the drought watch and warning determinations have affected the Delaware Aqueduct repairs and whether the leak from the system is imperiling our drought-related water conservation efforts. Now I'll discuss the legislation we'll be hearing today. In 2008, a long time ago, I sponsored Local Law 5, which required DEP to develop a sustainable stormwater management plan to reduce the volume of raw sewage and stormwater that enters our city's waterways through what are known as combined sewer overflows, or CSOs. That was certainly a big consideration back then. Since that earlier comprehensive stormwater plan was implemented, DEP has made tremendous progress towards the goal of reducing CSO discharges. Since 2008, staff tells me, the volume of CSOs has fallen by nearly half. I thought it was more than that, but I'll take my staff's word for it, from approximately 30 billion gallons per year to 16 billion gallons in 2022. DEP should feel free to step in about that number, make sure that's accurate. Our city must continue to reduce the volume of CSOs, but we must also address the new stormwater challenges as they emerge. One of the most pressing challenges in recent years is street flooding caused by rainfall. That's the whole, so the Stormwater Management Plan 2.0 is more about inland flooding than CSOs. So it's, as time change, we do different things. So this is the focus of the new Stormwater Management Plan bill. One of the most pressing challenges in recent years is street flooding caused by rainfall. New York City sewers were built to handle, in much of the city, 1.75 inches per hour of rain, that is stormwater, or less per hour. But some neighborhoods lack even the most basic stormwater infrastructure. Parts of Southeast Queens have no stormwater infrastructure whatsoever. With the increasing frequency of very, very extreme weather, New York City needs to consider pushing out to 1.75 inches per hour of stormwater processing capacity that it now has in most of the city. One of the preconsidered intros you're hearing today would require DEP to determine a new capacity for the city's stormwater infrastructure and publish a comprehensive stormwater plan for how to achieve that capacity. No small feat. We're talking about 6,000 miles of, or thereabout, of stormwater infrastructure, and it's going to be a long-term, process, and we have to pick a number, we have to fund it, we have to build it. It's going to be a lot. This bill is a much-needed update to the Sustainable Stormwater Plan that I drafted and passed so many years ago. The other preconsidered intro would require DEP to establish a program that would transfer liability for idling violations from vehicle owners to the lessees of rented vehicles. This bill will improve DEP's enforcement with the city's anti-idling laws by making sure that the party most able to prevent the idling of rented buses and trucks is the one subject to the penalties. I'd like to thank the committee staff, policy analyst Ricky Chawla and Andrew Bourne, legislative councils Austin Malone, Natasha Bynum, and Sierra Townsend. So we have 3 committee councils right now. I'd like to thank Austin, to my right, who's been filling in since Claire McLaughlin left to go do something else, and Austin wears a lot of hats on the city council legal staff, and he's very graciously stepped in to kind of keep the seat warm, and has served with great distinction. This will be his last hearing with us as the reins are passed to Natasha, with a big assist from Sierra, so we thank him for his good service to the committee. Also want to thank financial analyst Tanvir Singh. Did we talk about Ricky and Andrew? Did I mention them already? I think I mentioned them before the councils, yeah. As well as my legislative director, Josh Gachette. We also have my Chief of Staff, Henry Yam, on hand today as well for all their hard work. I'll now recognize the members who have joined us. We're joined by Council Members Zhuang, Marmorato, Nurse, and Holden. And so with that, I'll now turn it over to the Committee Council, who will give the affirmation to the witnesses.
Please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and to answer all council member questions honestly? Thank you. You may begin when you're ready.
Do I have a copy of DEP's testimony? I'd like to follow along with that. Could you make the type any smaller? This is, okay, I'm gonna have to kind of hold it like this. So, but I'll be listening all the same. So I want to thank my colleagues for being here. I want to thank you, Paul, and your staff, which you can introduce during your testimony, and please commence with your good testimony. Thanks for driving down to be here with us today.
Thank you, and good morning, Chairman Gennaro, and members of the Committee of Environmental Protection, Resiliency, and Waterfronts. I am Deputy Commissioner Paul Rush of our Bureau of Water Supply at the Department of Environmental Protection. I'm here today to discuss the ongoing drought. I am also joined by Chief Operating Officer Catherine Mallon and Deputy Commissioner Julie Lubin from our Bureau of Environmental Compliance to discuss the pieces of legislation on the agenda. As was announced yesterday, we're happy to share that the drought warning has been downgraded to a drought watch. There's been significant rain and melting snowpack in the last few weeks that have significantly replenished our reservoirs. While storages are still below normal for this time of year, we're in a much better place than we were a few weeks ago. The high-pressure weather system that has been stubbornly parked over our region has finally shifted, allowing regular storm systems to come through. We are now starting to see more consistent precipitation patterns. The drought we're coming out of is the first we've experienced in 20 years. In part, this is due to increases in precipitation due to climate change and a 35% reduction in water demand through conservation efforts. In 1979, we used 1.5 billion gallons per day of water. Today, that's down to 1 billion gallons per day. This reduction in demand is also a result of the targeted investments by DEP, the emergence of water efficiency standards, as well as water conservation measures by good New Yorkers who have steadily reduced the daily water demand, all of which makes our system more resilient to droughts. I should note that when we talk about drought conditions impacting the water supply, we're referring to conditions upstate in the watershed, not conditions here in the city. The watershed extends more than 100 miles north of the city, so even if it rains here in the 5 boroughs, that rain does not help with our drinking water supply. This year's drought has brought record low precipitation to both areas and across the Northeast region. We saw the lowest precipitation in recorded history in October, despite forecasts of a wetter than average October. In fact, the unprecedented deficit in rainfall we experienced this fall only had a 1% probability of occurring. Thankfully, New York City has among the most resilient and robust water supply systems in the world. The resiliency and sheer scale of the New York City's water supply system provides us with unparalleled flexibility. In a typical fall, the system is filled to around 80%, but it can operate safely and effectively even below average levels. Our team diligently monitors the conditions across the system and have taken actions to ensure that our water supply remained reliable throughout the drought conditions. Prior to deciding to move forward with the Delaware Aqueduct shutdown this year, we had been closely tracking forecasts. In September, we announced our partnership with the Center for Western Weather and Water Extremes, CW3E, to bring advanced extreme weather and water forecasting capabilities to DEP. CW3A is embedded at Scripps Institute of Oceanography at the University of California, San Diego, which is one of the most important centers for global earth science research and education in the world. But forecasts are not guaranteed. The drought came on suddenly and intensely. A high-pressure system camped out over the New York region and much of the Northeast, which made it difficult for normal weather patterns to break through. Regarding the Delaware Aqueduct repair, unfortunately, the drought conditions led to our difficult decision to pause the final phase of the $2 billion repair work on the Delaware Aqueduct, which would have fixed significant leaks to a portion of the tunnel by connecting a 2.5-mile bypass tunnel under the Hudson River near Newburgh. In order to initiate the last phase of work, DEP stopped the flow of water from the 4 reservoirs that feed the Delaware Aqueduct and increased the city's reliance on the other two water supply systems, or aqueduct systems, the Croton and Catskill systems. DEP has been actively preparing for this phase of the repair for decades, and we have invested hundreds of millions of dollars in infrastructure upgrades to the Catskill and Croton water supply systems to ensure that they could effectively meet water supply demand during the shutdown. Nearly $200 million of rehabilitation work was done to improve the flow of water and repair leaks in the Catskill Aqueduct. That work was completed at the end of 2021. Excuse me for 1 second. The Croton Falls and Cross River pump stations were also upgraded to increase their size and capacity, allowing us to take more water from the Croton system. We also completed a connection between the Croton system and City Tunnel Number 2 in the Bronx, so that water from the Croton systems could be provided to more areas of the city, in fact, all areas of the city. All of these precursor projects allowed us to push more water through the Catskill and Croton systems while the Delaware system was offline, ensuring that we would be able to meet demand. The final phase of the repair work, which would stem the loss of over 35 million gallons a day, started on October 1st. The work was scheduled over the winter because that's when water consumption is typically the lowest and inflows from precipitation are the highest. But the drought was too severe to safely continue, so the project was paused. The Delaware Aqueduct is now back online and supplying water to New Yorkers. We are optimistic that we'll be able to resume the repair work next fall. In the meantime, DEP continues to work proactively to reduce water demand and ensure that the system is fully prepared to complete the repairs. Regarding water conservation, the increased precipitation over the last few weeks, particularly last week, has significantly increased the volume of water in our reservoirs. The precipitation allowed us to end the drought warning, and the opening of the Delaware Aqueduct means that if dry conditions return, we will be ideally situated to face them. In or out of drought, no one should waste water. While we have been strengthening our water supply, we are also working to reduce demand. DEP has been working to identify the highest use customers and has been diligently monitoring water usage records to look for any possible leaks. We have been doing outreach and engagement to alert these customers to check for leaks or to advise on potential strategies to reduce consumption for big users. Since the drought watch was declared, DEP has inspected nearly 1.8 million linear feet of water mains to prevent leaks, shut over 1,700 open or leaking hydrants across the city, and resolved more than 700 leaks. New Yorkers are encouraged to identify and fix leaks in their homes and be mindful of wasting water. That will save them money on water bills too. In our changing climate, we need to use our natural resources wisely. Small changes in daily routines can always help. And we've got a website with simple things folks can do to save water in their daily routine. And that website is at nyc.gov/savewater. Now on to the legislation. There are two pre-considered pieces of legislation being heard today. The first bill would establish a program that transfers liability for certain engine idling violations from lessees of vehicles. We have significant concerns about this bill. We're concerned that relieving truck owners of financial responsibility for idling violations could undermine the strength of the program, particularly the efficacy of the cure provisions that we have been working together to develop and hope to enact in the near future. The CURE opportunity relies on the idling penalty to incentivize vehicle owners to install anti-idling technology or invest in electric vehicles. If owners are not responsible for paying the fine, there is no financial benefit to them to make these anti-idling investments. Transferring liability could make sense in case when an owner has installed anti-idling technology and the driver has disabled it. But we do not think transferring liability is a good policy generally. We have been working closely with the council and advocates to develop a CURE policy. We do not want to undermine that policy before it is even passed. In addition, we are not sure how such a program would work, so we'd like to understand better what the council is envisioning. The law department is also reviewing the bill and they have additional concerns. The second bill being heard today would require DEP to create a comprehensive stormwater plan and a stormwater dashboard. These requirements complement some existing planning requirements and new stormwater map requirements set forth in the City of Yes legislation and Intro 815, which were passed earlier this month. This bill also reflects commitments we made in the 2024 stormwater analysis that we released earlier this year. As the council is aware, DEP has been taking a holistic approach to managing stormwater, which has been increasingly challenging as climate change has brought more frequent, intense storms. We plan to develop a comprehensive stormwater plan, so we fully support the goals of this bill, but we cannot commit to the details or the timelines in the bill until we know how this work relates to the stormwater mapping work, and until we can ensure that we have available funding. We are happy to work with the chair on the details of the legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Russ. Appreciate that. And these are questions, right? Okay. Need a darker pen. Yeah, thank you, Paul. I'm going to be very brief in my questioning. It's normally my habit to let the good members of my committee, who have to be many places, to get their questions in so they can get on with their day. I'm going to be here for the whole time anyway, but I'm just going to, and I have, my own prepared questions. I'm just going to walk through your statement a little bit and just go over a couple of items, and then I'll turn it over. And I see we already have down for questions. We have Councilmember Marmorato and Councilmember Holden already signed up, and any members who want to ask questions should signal to Austin, and he'll put you down for questions. Starting from the end and working backwards, regarding the two bills, we certainly appreciate your position on this. With the one about the transfer of liability, I'm not insensitive to the fact that could have impacts on the cure provision. I knew that from the get-go, but I also think that there's a basic unfairness when the person who gets the idling violation doesn't have to pay the fine. But then leaves it to the owner to chase down the person that got the fine. This is, this and all, and the other bills that deal with noise and with idling, they're very, very complicated, and I think I'm known to be very deliberate, so I look forward to working with the DEP team, the commissioner, and the law department to work out something that we can all get behind. But now we have your testimony on the record, and I do appreciate that. Regarding the second piece of legislation, the stormwater, we've been working on this a long time, and I'm not going to, there's the mapping bill and what that does, but I think that, yeah, let me just ask you a little bit how the mapping aspect of the, proposed intro is a challenge to DEP in coming up with a stormwater management plan. Anybody who wants to speak to that is fine. You just have to identify yourself for the record.
Are you talking about the inland flood mapping
Yeah, I'm
requirements?
just reading from the testimony here. I have to hold it. I don't really have reading glasses anymore because they don't work, and so there's kind of nothing they can do about my nearsightedness until I have my cataracts removed. When I find the time to do that, I'll be able to spot drones everywhere once I have my cataracts taken out. I just have to, there's some challenges I have to overcome first before I can have that surgery. So I'm reading here. But we cannot commit the details of the timelines of the bill until we know how this work, meaning the creation of the stormwater management plan, relates to the stormwater mapping work. And so that's what I'm trying to understand, that sentence in there. Any light you could shed on that?
Yeah,
Wendy?
so with the requirement to do the inland flood mapping and then the overlay of this stormwater master plan, it's just going to require a significant amount of coordination between those two pieces of work. They intersect each other. I think there's a pretty tight timeline on this current bill to finish the master plan, and I think with the complications of having two models that need to make sure that they're fully coordinated, I think a little extra time is warranted.
But the mapping is going to take a long time. Is it DEP's position that they want to wait until the mapping exercise is complete before they can do this? I don't think that's the position, is it?
No.
Or what is it?
No, we've committed to finishing the inland stormwater mapping. I think it was in 2.5 years from promulgation. I can't remember off the top of my head, but
Whatever it is, yeah.
but this stormwater master planning for the whole system will take a longer period of time.
Yeah, and I think we have a date in the bill that's quite far out. 2028, so.
I think a little bit of relief on that time period might be helpful. for the
Yeah, so
stormwater
we
master
thought
plan.
that we thought that the interval made sense between like the, completion of the mapping and the completion of the stormwater plan. So, there's nothing really inconsistent here, right? I think we sort of built that in. So, so we look forward to having that conversation. Like I said, I'm very, very deliberate in what I do to make sure that we, do it once and do it right. And
Yeah, getting it right is really important.
yeah, we
The complex system.
You bet, and I do appreciate that. Let me just make some other quick. You're going to come back for my second round, of course. Paul, you don't mind if I call you Paul? We've known each other so many years. You can call me Jim. I don't stand on ceremony. With regard to the reservoir level, where it normally is in late December versus where we are now, like what are those percentages? Like, like right now?
So normally, the 30-year average, this time of year, the entire system would be at 82.7% capacity. We're at 67.7% capacity now.
Okay.
So we've improved quite a bit.
Yes, we've been catching up. I'd like to recognize Councilmember Alexa Aviles, who has joined us. Always a pleasure to be with her. Thank you for joining us. And if you have any questions, Alexa, like now's the time to sign up, because I'm just going to do a brief little thing and then throw it over to the members and then come back. And with regard to the Delaware Aqueduct, obviously something that had to be done. Let's just talk a little bit about the Delaware Aqueduct in terms of the, so we got the Croton system, which in the planning for the Delaware fix, we were going to push that system to the maximum, push the Catskill to the maximum, do repairs, make sure everything was in good shape, but on an ordinary day, to the extent there is such a thing as an ordinary day, the percentage of water that's supplied to the city through the Delaware Aqueduct is a very big number, right? Isn't it? It's well over 50% we normally, of the water we get from the city, to the city is from the Delaware Aqueduct. So how much of the water that we receive right now in the newly opened Delaware Aqueduct is furnishing the water with furnishing the city with water?
So normal percentages for the city, for the system, long-term averages, we have 50% of our supply from the Delaware system out of Rondout Reservoir, 40% out of the Catskill system leaving Ashokan, and about 10% out of the Croton system.
Right.
That's the long-term averages. Today, we're moving, so the city demand is just under 1 billion gallons right now. Today, we're moving 815 million gallons a day out of Rondout Reservoir from the Delaware system. So 815 out of almost 1 billion gallons a day is coming out of the Delaware system. So we hadn't used the reservoirs in the Delaware for quite a while.
Right.
So we have more water in the Delaware system. So we're favoring Delaware.
Yep.
The Croton system right now, about 75 million gallons a day are going into the system from the Croton system. And out of the Catskill system, we're pulling 300. So that's more than what the city uses every day. That's because we have storage volume that we're refilling east of Hudson in Westchester and Putnam counties with that excess water. So we're going in the process of rebalancing the system right now. And we're back into what we would say is a normal configuration, the way we distribute water into the city.
Let's just play out the whole drought scenario a little bit. I know I'm kind of breaking my promise to be very brief, but as things pop into my head, I just want to get them out before I forget. The city, as most people know, is part of the Delaware River Basin Commission, and we have obligations to kind of spill water into the Delaware River to serve Philadelphia and other cities. If push came to shove, and we're really jammed up in a drought situation, how much leeway or flexibility does the city have to hold back on how much we spill into the Delaware River for downstream communities? I mean, like, how hard and fast is that? I mean, because we have our commitment, whatever it is, and then maybe if we've got the water, we're like a little more generous. I don't really know how it works. So I think sometimes we can be like a little more generous if we have the water, but do we have the ability under the DRBC compact to be a little more stingy? And you would know about that, and I don't. So how does that work? Because I'm thinking about that as a potential contingency if we really got jammed up in a drought. How much leeway do we have when it comes to, and also how much water do we spill, into the, into the Delaware for Philadelphia and other cities? If you just take us through that, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. So the Delaware River system in New York City, taking water out of the Delaware is pretty complicated. There are two different governing entities. So the city takes water out of the Delaware pursuant to a Supreme Court decree. The first case was decided in 1931, U.S. Supreme Court. US Supreme. Then in 1954, there was an amended decree that allowed the city to construct Cannonsville Reservoir, the last major reservoir that was constructed in our system, completed in 1964, went into official operations in
1969.
Yes. So Cannonsville, that's our Delaware system. So the decree dictates water and how much water the city can take, and the city is a party to the decree. There are 5 parties, the 4 basin states plus New York City. Later, under the Kennedy administration, the Delaware River Basin Compact was signed, And the Delaware River Basin Compact consists of the federal government plus the 4 basin states. In that venue, New York City is not a member of the commission, but we are an official advisor to New York State. The drought of the 1960s, the record drought for the New York City system, was worse than what the allocations were made upon, the Supreme Court predicated allocations upon 1954. The drought that was the drought of record then was the drought of the 1930s. The drought of the 1960s was much, much worse, and the allocations did not support the needs. The flow targets downstream, the diversions to New York City. After that occurred, there was a series of negotiations and discussions that culminated in the good faith agreements in the 1980s that set up rules to cut back flows to New York City, to the river, and to New Jersey based on different stages of drought. And drought was defined in the Delaware River Basin Commission on the storage in the three New York City reservoirs on the Delaware, Neversink, Papacton, and Canonsville. That determines drought criteria in the Delaware Basin. Since that time, there have been a series of negotiations by the decree parties to set up a new program called the Flexible Flow Management Program, which we proactively release water from our systems when it's available downstream to provide benefits, environmental benefits, fisheries benefits, and protecting the water supply when we have water. But when conditions are dry, there's a flow target we have to meet at Montague, New Jersey. And this fall, as runoff or has influenced our reservoirs approached levels that we had not seen to the 1960s, we were meeting the normal flow target at Montague, which was 1,750 cubic feet per second, plus, since our reservoirs were in normal condition, under the good faith agreements, we can be directed by DRBC to release additional water for a flow target at Trenton, New Jersey, that's managed by DRBC. So we were this fall meeting flow targets at Montague plus Trenton, and we were releasing at times 1 billion gallons a day into the Delaware River, which was as much a demand on our system as was for the rest of the system. And as storage conditions decrease, drought conditions get worse, there's scaled cutbacks on how much water we can take and how much water we can release and how much water New Jersey can divert out of there. So this is a constant negotiation. We have little wiggle room when it comes to that. But through the negotiating process and modern, better forecasting and monitoring, the system works, and that because we had the Delaware system offline, we had a higher than normal amount of water in that Delaware system during that time, and now we're rebalancing it.
Yeah, but it seems that we're a little, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it seems like we're a little locked in on our basic commitments that we have to come through, like, no matter what. Is that a fair assessment?
We're locked in the commitments to the decree through the flexible flow management. Yes, we are, and we're in the process of doing studies to look on how the requirements could be adjusted in the future to better protect the city of New York and the entire basin.
Yeah, but it seems to me, and I don't know if this is kind of a bridge too far. If the downstream communities, Trenton, Philadelphia, whatever, like, you know them better than I do, is there any possibility that they could build more robust holding capacity in the form of, like, other reservoirs or whatever, so that they can be satisfied when, that they can hold water, just in case we have to hold back. It seems like that would that be something that could be considered and talked about in these good faith negotiations, to have our partners downstream say, hey, look, like, we're willing, to give you the water when we have it, but you have a little bit of an obligation here, to build, holding reservoir capacity so that if times get lean, you'll have the water ahead of time, and then you use it as we struggle with our own drought situation. Is that the kind of thing that New York City can put on the table?
Well, it's something that's actually in the flexible flow management agreement right now that we have with the decree parties, where there's a requirement to study additional storage possibilities within the basin. And for the New York City system, the biggest point of concern on us is when conditions get into a drought emergency. And our flow target at Montague, New Jersey right now is based in drought watch, drought warning. It's a fixed target. It drops down 100 CFS. But when you go into an emergency, that flow target flexes on the position of the salt front in the lower Delaware River. So when the salt front's higher up, closer to Philadelphia, we have to release more water. What we're working on are ways to replace that and opportunities. And one of the things we've done over the course of years, as demand in the city has dropped, precipitation has increased, we've changed the way we operate our reservoirs to proactively release water downstream when we know we're in a wet cycle. So we push that water downstream, otherwise it would spill, and we do it in a way that provides more benefits to the environment and others downstream. So this is essentially what would be called today forecast-informed reservoir operations we've started to do. There are other big opportunities to do that with other storage that exists in the basin, primarily operated by the United States Army Corps of Engineers at F.E. Walter Reservoir on the Lehigh River in Pennsylvania, where we're co-partners in a study with the Delaware River Basin Commission, New York City, and the Corps of Engineers, looking at alternate ways to use that flood reservoir, primarily flood protection reservoir, in Pennsylvania, to use that during a drought,
Right.
to possibly use that water.
Right. That
to help
exists already,
and
this
relieve us.
reservoir. So this reservoir is there. We could put water in it. It could hold it for all. And I think I heard you mention something about there being a salt issue with one of the, so.
Well, that's right. The concern in a drought of emergency, a requirement, especially as we know sea level is going to rise,
Right.
so there's a higher risk long term, is pushing that salt back in an efficient way.
Right.
Right now, New York City reservoirs are on the hook for that, but the New York City reservoirs are located hundreds of miles away from the mouth of the Delaware. That work, or that pushing back of the salt, could be done a lot more efficiently with less water by reservoirs closer to the estuary, such as the Corps of Engineers reservoir, but it would require changing the operations. And the study we're doing right now with the Corps of Engineers, or the Corps of Engineers is leading, and we're helping to support it, is looking at the feasibility of taking advantage of existing infrastructure and using it in a different way to help more efficiently push back water on the salt front that improves New York City's water system's resilience, but also has an impact to improve flows that would come downstream from our reservoir for a longer period of time in a severe drought, so it also protects the environment. And we were this fall, the commissioner was there with the Assistant Secretary of Army at the DRBC headquarters to announce an extension of that agreement and our additional investments to help get that study done.
Thank you. So it looks like what I'm talking about is already underway, and that the Army Corps realizes the realities of all various forms of climate change adaptation that has to take place, just a note to staff, whatever, is Josh here? Whatever, Josh? Okay, yeah. Why don't we make arrangement with DEP to get like a formal briefing on everything going on with the DRBC and this whole new Army Corps analysis. I think it's good for the council to be updated. I'm not gonna have a hearing on it and like drag the whole committee in front of it, but at least the staff team here and our office should be, aware of what's going on. It's very important, and we appreciate that. And I have many more questions, but I have members that have questions, and let me throw it open to them. I joyfully recognize Councilmember Marmorato for questions.
Thank you, Chair. So I don't know if your agency was responsible for it, but during, when they issued the drought warnings, there was a commercial from the 1980s that started circulating again, and it was about kids trying to do their part. I thought it was absolutely genius, and if you guys could put that on your social media or get permission to use that, I think it's like a home run for you guys. Even if it's just stopping the water while you're brushing your teeth, it's like little things for kids to understand. Now, do you have any kind of education or outreach to the schools about stuff like this? Is there anything that you guys do?
As part of our drought planning efforts, it's DEP, we're the lead with the water supply, but it's really an all-agency, all-city operation where the Department of Education, the schools have had a very big part of that in terms of pushing curriculum to save water to the students.
Okay.
And, even in DOE with the janitors, the custodians doing different things to save water around that, yes.
Okay,
Is
good.
the simple answer.
Thank you. So I just wanted to talk about the legislation for a second about the stormwater plan. Would the implementation of the proposed stormwater plan require DEP to commit a greater portion of its budget towards infrastructure projects? And if so, how would this impact water and sewer costs for ratepayers?
So, yeah, implementing the plan is going to require additional capital funding. I think in the stormwater report we sent out, it's about $30 billion worth of infrastructure costs just for the highest priority flood areas. So, yeah, and at the same time, we can't divert water away from the other aspects of our capital program around keeping our assets in a state of good repair and meeting all our regulatory mandates.
Okay, so how are we going to get that funding? Is this going to affect their rates?
That's one of the reasons why we're looking at other types of funding streams and rate charges to help support all of the needs of the system. But yeah, it's a significant amount of investment.
Yeah, okay. And as far as Reso 84 is concerned, has the administration identified specific areas within the city that are at risk of repeat flooding, and would it be eligible to, how are we going to propose the voluntary buyout program? Are you guys going to be able to identify these areas, or is it something that we have to, as homeowners and members of the community, are we going to have to kind of address this with you?
Yeah, I can't comment on the buyout program, but we will be required to do inland flood maps as part of the City of Yes resolution for inland flooding.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Whoops. Thank you, Councilmember. It is my pleasure to recognize Councilmember Holden for questions.
Thank you, Chair. Deputy Commissioner, thank you for your testimony. A couple of things. We had a water main break, a huge one. I believe it was in the Bronx. And what caused that? I guess we have certain times of the year, maybe now, is when we start to see when it freezes and we get cold weather and then warmer. The water mains they're more susceptible now to breaks? Because we lost a lot of water. I don't know how much, I don't know what caused it, but if you could elaborate on that.
So that's outside my area of responsibility.
All right, well, somebody.
Yeah, I was out there till about 3 last night. It's too early to tell what caused that main break, but as soon as we're able to excavate the area and take a look at it, we'll have better answers.
Now, I used to hear years ago more water main breaks than we're hearing now. Is my imagination, or are we doing better?
No, we're doing much better than we have been historically. Some of it is around the pressure regulators throughout the system to make sure that we're controlling that very steadily, that we don't see surges in the system. So there's been a lot of attention on the regulators and the pressure in the system, and there's also been a lot of effort on leak detection, so finding leaks before they turn into main breaks. And we're also using some AI tools right now to see if we can't take historical breaks and turn that into a predictive tool. So there's a lot of effort going on within the Bureau of Water Supply Operations that Deputy Commissioner Tassos Georgelis is Deputy Commissioner of, to keep main breaks to as low a level as possible. We understand the disruption.
And I guess there's a regular replacement of water mains because of their age. Some are over 100 years old or more. So we're on a program and we're keeping up with that.
We do have a program to routinely look at our water mains and replace those that we believe are most vulnerable.
All right, and one of the, in my district and in probably many districts around the city, a resident will call in to 311 a leak at a hydrant or in the street. And many times, at least when I first started as a council member, there was a priority list where the leak would go on for weeks sometimes because it wasn't that great. We're still doing that because it just seemed that we didn't have enough crews at that time, maybe 7 years ago. So has it changed?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think if you look at the MMR report and you look at the response times, it's pretty prompt. Okay. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I can get that to you.
Yeah, because I don't get as many complaints where it's lasting for weeks on end.
No.
So that's good to hear. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Holden. Next person on the list for questions is Councilmember Nurse. I'm going to recognize Councilmember Nurse for questions, but first I'm going to recognize that we've been joined by Councilmember Salamanca. And so thank you for being with us, Councilmember Salamanca. And with that, I recognize Councilmember Nurse for questions.
I only just had one question. I was just curious what the response has been to the drought warnings from New Yorkers. Like, have we seen consumption? Like, was it working, the messaging that was going out? I feel like, we saw it because we're in the know and we amplified it, but I'm actually very curious to see, like, did consumption rates go down? Or is there more thinking that needs to go into those kinds of messages?
That's a really good question. We saw a decrease in demand after we issued drought watch and drought warning. Obviously, we've also been putting out messages encouraging the public to reduce consumption. Also, city agencies have been doing their best to reduce consumption. But it's very difficult to piece out what is the actual savings as a result of that message and what's the course of just seasonal patterns, increased precipitation. What we are doing is we're taking a look at records, customer records and billing to see if we can pick up on those trends so we can understand that better, so we can also plan and react and understand where the reductions are. This time of the year, when we're reducing consumption, when you have compared to the spring and summer where you have a lot of outdoor use going on, that's where you can really reduce a lot and you can see it visibly and monitor it easily. This time of the year, that's more difficult. It's a good question, but we're looking to try to decipher that to understand what actually happened.
I would be really interested in just understanding if those messages were working at some point. Is there any other period in time where you have had to issue something, and I know you've been talking about this for a little bit, but where there's any other point where you could have measured those kinds of messaging in the past?
Yes, I mean, it's tough. I mean, back when I first started working for the city in the 90s, we were literally having droughts every other year, so we had a more frequent opportunity to see how the message was working or how it worked back then. And the last drought we had was 2001 through 2003. So since that time, we haven't had that opportunity. But consumption in the city right now, even though we have more than 1.5 million more people, at this point, it's much lower than it was during the low point during the drought of record in the 1960s, which is tremendous. I mean, we've done that, and it's been the combination of factors I mentioned. It's, investments the city's made, the AMR system to get feedback. Customers can get feedback on their water uses, and if there's a high use, we can notify the customer directly. The investments we've made in terms of encouraging people to move to low-flow devices, and also the change in standards to, national plumbing standards have become much, much efficient. And one of the biggest savings we see right now is this transition from the top-loading washing machines to those front-loading. I mean, that reduces a lot. And we've seen and everyday New Yorkers are more conscious of this. And, the benefits are to the system. It also saves a tremendous amount of energy in our treatment. I mean, our treatment costs and pumping at Croton, but also on the wastewater side, where any water that comes through, you're pumping that, and that requires a lot of energy. There are benefits of that, but testing the message, going that far back in time, that's more difficult.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Nurse. I recognize my good friend Councilmember Salamanca for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning. I just have a few questions. So the borough of the Bronx, I think, is the borough that has the most green space out of all 5 boroughs. And I know that Councilmember Christian Marmorato has the biggest green spaces, and then followed by, Councilmember Van Cortlandt Park, then Crotona Park. I know that during the drought there were some bushfires in the Bronx. Does DEP have any plans or future plans on having conversations with the Parks Department on creating some type of water irrigation system in certain areas that are prone to, have a bushfire based on what we just experienced now?
So that's a question is on the parks, the trees?
Well, I mean, in terms of, the Parks Department can't do that alone without the Department of Environmental Protection. Are there any conversations? And the answer may be no, but are there any potential conversations moving forward with what we just experienced now, knowing that this can happen again next summer, or there could be a drought and there are areas that are prone? Obviously, we know that there are areas that are prone for bushfires. What is your agency doing to work with your sister agency to address those issues so that we can avoid that from happening?
So we've been coordinating through OEM or at NISM with the other city agencies, and I have a colleague here from Parks who could answer the question.
But before that happens, the witness would have to be sworn. Sure. So the council will do that. It's not going to come off your time. You take as long as you want. So we're going to swear the witness, and then when you give your answer, just state your name for the record.
Sure. My name's Matt Drury. I'm the Chief of Citywide Legislative Affairs for New York City Parks Department.
Okay, you got to do
Please raise your right hand.
affirmation. Or?
You affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and to answer all council member questions honestly?
I do.
Thank you.
So it's a good question. There were several incidents of brush fires in the first couple weeks of November during the drought conditions, 1 or 2 notable ones in the Bronx, in addition to Brooklyn and Queens as well. And there is definitely our natural areas are, tens of thousands of acres throughout New York City, and brush fires, such as they are sort of part of the conditions that we're always going to monitor for. So I'm not aware that there's a plan for irrigation per se, or sort of, since these are natural areas, forests, marshes, areas like this. I think it's, just from a practicality standpoint, I think it's kind of difficult to think of systems that could be installed. But staff observation, careful monitoring, really close work with FDNY to make sure that if and when there is a response, that is extremely quick, and that these situations are that the damage is limited and mitigated as much as possible. But I wouldn't say that there's like a larger infrastructural solution that I understand is being contemplated.
All right, thank you for that. Then my last line of questioning has to do with the public service announcements. During the drought, What I observed was I saw the mayor speaking on, asking New Yorkers to limit their water usage. If you're going to shave while you're shaving, if you can turn off your faucet. If you're going to shower, turn on the water when you're going to get in the shower, not just turn on the shower and wait around. But as Councilmember Nurse stated, New Yorkers were not really paying attention. We were, because we were more in government. So I'm just curious to know about moving forward, if you're going to have a public service announcement ready for New Yorkers. But also, what I observed in my district during these announcements, I saw my car washes fully functioning. I saw my supers cleaning their sidewalks with the water hoses. Does DEP moving forward have any, how can I say, regulations that they will put in place to hold these individuals accountable that are, I would call, wasting water when there is a drought in the city?
Sorry, please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and to answer all councilmember questions honestly?
I do.
Thank you.
And when you answer, please state your name for the record.
Sure. I'm Beth DeFalco, Deputy Commissioner for Public Affairs, and I apologize for being late. I was up in the Bronx.
I saw you in the Bronx.
Yeah, this morning as mud on my shoe shows. Yes, one of the things that I think was the biggest lesson from a public affairs standpoint and communication standpoint is just that New Yorkers are not used to having to conserve water every single day because it's not a thing that we've, unlike other places in California, out west, that we've had to do. So we realized that just because we are not in a drought warning anymore doesn't mean that we are going to slow down our messaging and communication about what people need to do to conserve water. Specifically, everything from PSAs, also to our leak detection program. I think one of the biggest things that we can do is make sure that New Yorkers sign up for leak detection so that if you do have a leaky toilet, which you might not know otherwise, we can notify you once it hits a certain point, so that you both can say you are conserving water and saving money, which is something I think that we all want to do. But we are making a considered effort that just because we are out of this particular drought warning doesn't mean that we are going to slow up on that messaging. We've got a terrific education department that is out in classrooms every day and working with our education department to make sure that that's something that we are doing continually and increasingly to get the message out.
I appreciate that. But my question is more geared to, there's a drought, there were car washes, and there were individuals out there, the supers, right, with their water hoses cleaning the sidewalks. Does DEP, are there any regulations that you can hold these businesses accountable when there's a drought?
There are regulations, and we were first in a drought watch, drought warning, now we're back in a drought watch, which is encouraging the public to conserve water. When you go to the next step, a drought emergency, then there are regulations that impact where spraying down the sidewalk, car washes, things like that become regulated and the restrictions become mandatory on the public. In this phase, in a drought watch and drought emergency, the city does not have, drought watch or drought warning, the city does not have mandatory requirements for the general public.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Salamanca. We're joined by Councilmember Ressler. Josh, Adam is trying to call me and tell him I'm in the middle of a hearing. He should know that. But don't people look at my schedule? Don't they? Oh, I picked up? Oh, boy. Oh. I'm in trouble now. Josh, just find out what Adam wants, okay? And then once you find out, don't tell me, okay? Before I do I just want to jump in on that on that last line of questioning. The councilman was talking about he was talking about car washes and talking about people hosing down sidewalks. And I know we have Parks Department here, right? and we talked earlier in my opening statement about this being a particularly fragile time in like the life cycle of like a newly planted tree or shrub or whatever, and how they're at great risk for dehydration at this point of their gestation or whatever you want to call it. And so how does DEP, how does the Parks Department work with DEP to get dispensation on how much water they can use to support the investment of the new plantings, you know, vis-a-vis what DEP has to do to cut back on it? So how does that colloquy work?
Sure, great question. And you're right that newly planted trees do require, you know, sort of targeted and focused watering to ensure their, you know, their viability moving forward. And I'm pleased to confirm that in this planting season that just wrapped up, we were able to water the trees in accordance with our normal planting policy. So there was no impact. And I think some of that is timing, right? Like the planting season had essentially been kind of starting to kind of dial down as the drought conditions had kind of emerged. So not that there's ever a good time for a drought, but you know, the timing in that regard was fairly fortuitous.
Good, yeah, because I always fund a lot of plantings, and I'm gonna give myself a little latitude and go like a little off topic. It's one of like the benefits of being chair. You get away with that in like little doses. I'm putting a bill in that it's in bill drafting now, and it has to do with making sure that tree contractors or residents don't take down street trees that are within the city's right-of-way. You're familiar with this. And so you know, my street has like a 60-foot right-of-way in which the city, you know, controls the vegetation and can do like a host of things within that 60-foot right-of-way. The street itself is only 28 feet wide, and so from the curb, it goes 16 feet in on both sides, and I see tree contractors taking down trees on the property side of the sidewalk, but within the right-of-way. And so, you know, this is a phenomenon which I sometimes complain to the Parks Department about it. The Queen's office is very good about it. They get out there, you know, if I see the people sitting up and I think this thing's a street tree, then I come out and have the Parks Department, they'll measure and tell the contractor, get your hands off this tree, like you can't touch it. So it's something I'm going to be, now, this is common knowledge in the Parks Department where there's a so-called right-of-way. And it is true that you can't take down a tree within the city's right-of-way, even if it's on the property side of the sidewalk. I'm like correct in that assertion, right?
Yeah, my understanding is that trees within the right-of-way, as it's defined, are under the jurisdiction, are considered city property and under the jurisdiction of,
right.
And there are penalties attached with an unauthorized removal in that regard. It does happen. It's not super common, thankfully, but it does happen where, you know, a tree may just by all other appearances seem to be on someone's property, and there are sometimes some conflicts that arise from that, and our as you described, our forestry team would get out there and try to clarify where the right-of-way truly falls.
Okay, well, you should tell the department that this bill is coming, and so it's going to be an education program and enforcement program, you know, against contractors who either don't know of the existence of the right-of-way. I think most tree contractors, as long as it's on the property side of the sidewalk, they're taking the tree down and they're going to collect their $5,000 and they're going to grind down the stump, and that tree was never there. And so, so just tell your colleagues that this is coming. We're doing everything to try to, you know, increase the tree canopy, and here we are like losing trees every day to contractors who willingly don't know what the rules are. And so, yes, and so that's coming. Thanks for that.
Tree protection is a big priority for the agency. If it would be helpful to connect you or your staff with our forestry team to kind of hear about our current practices to that scenario, even if it's not commonplace, if that would help formulate any thoughts along them as the bill is coming together, we'd be happy to do that.
Sure, that'd be great. So, please make a note, Natasha, about that we should get this. We should, understand more about what's going on in the Parks Department. That bill is in drafting now, and so I want the bill to be bulletproof and workable. So thank you for that. And we have Councilmember Ressler, rolled up sleeves and all. And he never doesn't have his sleeves rolled up because he's always like working very
I just want to give the
assiduously.
impression that I'm
What's
working.
that?
I want to just give the impression that I'm working.
No, the way you give the impression that you're working is that you always look annoyed because you look busy. Everyone does. If I'm sitting up there going, that guy looks busy, and so that's the way to do it. It's not the sleeves, it's the look. Okay.
It's all part of the
And
same
this is
shit.
all on the record that
We
people
can't
can
all
read.
look good in a three-piece suit.
This is all on the record that people can look at 50 years from now. And so, of what goes on in my hearings. I recognize Councilman Ressler for some good time questions.
Chair, as always, greatly appreciate your leadership and deep expertise as the lead of our Environmental Protection Committee.
Thank you.
Truly. Thank the panel for being here with us today. Echoing some of the sentiments from my colleagues, I think the challenge that we face in these new extreme weather events is that New Yorkers are just not accustomed to dealing with drought or dealing with wildfires. And what gives me great concern is that when we're experiencing a drought, it undermines our resiliency. It makes us much more prone to wildfires, as we experience in Prospect Park and in Inwood and other parts of New York City and New Jersey. So I'm just really interested in understanding, both from a DEP and a park standpoint, when we've been in this drought condition, what can we do to further strengthen resiliency efforts, and what can we do to prevent wildfires above and beyond, I think, from telling people not to barbecue in the park? Are there greater measures that we should be working to implement? And do we need to consider new resources for public awareness campaigns in these types of emergencies that can effectively break through with working New Yorkers who are overwhelmingly busy to make sure that they're doing everything they can to, reduce use of water, but also perhaps contribute in other ways to strengthening our resiliency and preventing wildfires?
I can certainly talk a little bit from the parks perspective because in large part, it kind of falls within the confines of I would call our sort of national area management sort of strategy. So for example, the agency routinely executes what you might call reforestation or other sort of managed projects to kind of clear away
Matt,
invasive species.
I have to ask, what's the current staffing level of your Natural Resources Division?
I'd have to get back to you with that number. I don't have that offhand.
Severely under where we've been in previous years?
In terms of head count, I don't know that I would say it's severely under.
I think it's been reported in Hellgate and other places that the headcount in the Natural Resources Division is way down in the Parks Department, just like it is across the agency, but it's particularly notable within that division.
Like any other agency dealing with finite resources, I think this is a question of how they're deployed and being, smart about that. There's no denying that obviously PEGs in the last couple cycles, are sort of playing out. And as, we look forward to kind of this new budget cycle to kind of retain and restore that. That's, it's a project that we're in ongoing conversations about with OMB and others.
Do you think that the reduction in headcount that you've suffered within that division has undermined or limited your ability to respond to these extreme weather events?
No, I don't believe that's the case. I mean, I think obviously what we were looking at most recently here is obviously, significant drought conditions that, as noted, hadn't been seen in the city for over 2 decades. So, I mean, I don't know that I would connect those two in terms of causation.
No, but, okay. So you don't think that the lack of staffing would have prevented some of the wildfires that we saw in parks in New York City this year?
I think it's impossible, FDNY's response times, the weather, there's so
particularly-
many other sort of like variables that come into play in terms of how a wildfire happens and what happens after it happens, that it's, I think, drawing too direct a line to any individual factor.
Sure.
It is, probably not exactly.
I think that's fair, although I think it would behoove the Parks Department to share with our Parks Committee and with Council Finance what we could do with more staffing and how we could do a better job of preparing and preventing our parks from being as vulnerable to wildfires, considering these are new realities that we have to deal with. We can't wish them away. Can I ask the DEP team about the increased risks of flooding that occur when we're in a drought condition and what we can do to try to ensure that our resiliency is maintained or strengthened during these vulnerable periods?
So in terms of being resilient for a drought and things that we need to do, from DEP's perspective, we need to be able to deliver water to the city every day, no matter what. And the work we are doing on the Delaware Aqueduct to repair a large leak, 35 million gallons a day, completing that is important. As I mentioned earlier,
That project paused as a result of the drought?
What's that?
That project paused as a result of the drought. Now that the drought warning is lifted,
we did have to pause it because
is it restarting now that the drought warning has been lifted?
we would
Please continue, Lincoln, don't worry about the clouds.
I'll go fast, I'm sorry.
We will, the plan, when we can restart, we're preparing to restart it again next fall. We can only begin that in the start of the low demand period.
We lost a full year of work.
We're gonna have to push it back until next year. So,
Yeah, we lost a full year of work. Yes, accurate.
so repairing that leak's important. On the Catskill Aqueduct, we have leaks in the pressure tunnel that goes on the Rondout pressure tunnel. We have a plan in place, or we're working on a repair for that. We need to make those investments. And also throughout the distribution system, making sure that we're making investments in water mains to make sure we reduce and make a more resilient system. I mean, that's key to resiliency, and also investments in technology and personnel and research to take, like Catherine had mentioned, AI to use as a tool to improve our knowledge predictive of where we may have breaks.
I appreciate all of those answers, and certainly the first responsibility of DEP as an agency is to make sure that we all have access to clean drinking water. That is, foundational. Totally appreciate that response. I was getting at something a little bit different, which is when we're in a drought warning, we are at risk of flooding in a more heightened way, which may sound contradictory to say it out loud, but it's not. And so I just am asking from a resiliency standpoint, if we do have extreme weather events while there's a drought going on, which may help alleviate the drought conditions over time, it does put us at greater risk for flooding. Is there anything we can do? And we were experiencing a drought during a time period of our hurricane season, right? So could you elaborate, is there anything that we could or should be doing as an agency to prepare for those types of extreme weather events during drought conditions, as this is unfortunately a potential reality that we'll see more frequently in the future? Or is this a ridiculous...
I tell you what, before you reply, I don't fully understand the question. It's also kind of like an echo in the room. So we have a drought going on, then we have a severe weather event, and it's raining, and the premise of the question is...
The premise of the question is that our dried out green areas are less able to absorb stormwater and reduce stormwater from entering into our system, and therefore we're less equipped to be able to handle and withstand an extreme weather event because of the drought conditions that affect our green areas. That would be the premise.
Okay, all right.
Tell me if
Now I
I'm
got it.
crazy. You can tell me I'm a crazy person. You all are a lot more knowledgeable than me.
I just wanted to understand the question.
That was what I was getting at. But you can tell me that it's not a concern or that you don't think it's a thing that we need to worry about, and I'm happy to do it, happy to listen to you. But that was my premise.
Well, I'd say intuitively, I don't think it's something to worry about, but it's also not something that we've looked at in preparation for a storm. I don't think our preparation for a storm would be any different in a drought or a non-drought, but, would we get more runoff during a drought? I mean, potentially. but would be relatively insignificant compared to the amount of impervious area throughout the whole city.
I appreciate that it may not be.
We'll take a look at that.
But I appreciate you
Yeah.
taking a look at it, and I think that how we consider strengthening resiliency and flood prevention during drought conditions is something that I think we need to consider and ensure that it's not an enhanced risk for the city moving forward. Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, panel.
Thank you, Councilman Ressler, as always. And yeah, but before we get to the prepared questions, I remember in your statement, you talked about how DEP wisely checks in with its bigger, water users to make sure that they're being efficient, they don't have leaks or whatever. And following that from the macro level down to the micro level, is there any way that DEP could make an assessment of smaller users? I'm not talking about like single-family homes, but like apartment buildings that have that are using water at a rate that's above what they normally use, suggesting that there's some significant leak. And it would have to be something big. So you've got a certain building, high-rise or whatever, that's using 50% more water, whatever. Is that the kind of thing that in an emergency, DEP might have the ability to monitor and track and knock on the door over there and say, what's going on with your usage? This is a pretty big number compared to what you ordinarily use. I think you have a leak. Is that a thing?
Yeah, Chairman, I can take that question.
I bet.
One of the things that we, in trying to reduce consumption, looked at, our Bureau of Customer Service looked at, was water consumption, especially among 1- and 3-family homes, and homes that were using more than 1 million gallons per day, which likely indicated a leak. So using our new metering system, we were able to identify hundreds of homes that we think are using more than 1 million gallons a day, and we are starting a program now to do direct outreach to those homeowners.
Was like a phone call, or what's the outreach?
Door knocks as well.
Pardon?
And knocking on the door as well, if need be. Whatever we need to do for 2 reasons. One, because there's plenty of savings in terms of consumption that can be had there, but also there's monetary savings for that property owner.
Right.
So that's something that we're starting to do, and I think probably a positive thing that we were able to find as a result of the drought.
Well, I'm kind of surprised that it goes right down to the most micro level, which would be the single-family house, and so that is good to know that that's part of the paradigm that DEP uses when things get really dry. I actually think the single-family house, although in terms of the percentage of the population of the city that actually lives in single-family houses, is a relatively low number, but I think it's the most commonly occurring building structure. I think there are more single-family houses than there are apartment buildings or what. I think that's how it works. So yes, there are a lot of them, and if we catch leaks, it adds up. Okay, now most of my colleagues have asked the questions that I think that I had indicated I wanted to ask. So the method of my madness of letting my members go first is that they save me work, right? I get the questions asked and I don't have to do it. So let's see what's left here. I think Councilmember Salamanca touched on this. I have a question that staff prepared. What work is DEP doing to ensure the safety and fire resistance of New York City's parks? That's what Salamanca was getting into. If you can just reinforce that answer for me, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. We obviously work in close coordination with DEP and other agencies regarding, and certainly FDNY most pressingly in the event of an emergency of that nature. But But our broader strategy for our natural areas involves efforts like, reforestation or those sort of management mechanisms, which, the removal of invasive species that can, Phragmites, things that, sort of wooded, reedy plants that can, lead to greater threats of wildfires. That sort of management strategy is a sort of core component of
On
sort of
that
the approach.
point, on that point, back in my first tenure in the council, from 2002 to 2013, I was banging my head against the wall to try to get an invasive species law passed in New York City, and we're surrounded by jurisdictions that have an invasive species ban, meaning that you can't go to the local garden center and purchase them and plant them, and you can't contract with your landscaper, even if the landscaper is located outside of New York City. So Nassau County, Suffolk County, Westchester, New Jersey, they all have them. But we didn't have any, but we didn't have that, and we were told that the state was going to act or whatever, and that was going to, create like the legal framework. Did that ever happen regarding invasive species? Right now, can I go to the local, gardening center and buy a plant that, and of course the list has to be updated from time to time. I know the Nature Conservancy and other organizations help with that. Ordinarily, there's like a panel that comes together and figures out like the new list of invasive species, because more and more are constantly showing up. Do we have that in New York City now, or do I have to like try to do that again?
It's a good question. I have to admit, I'm not familiar with the regulatory landscape regarding like commercial or home use of access to species of that nature, like at nurseries or what have you.
My point is, and all these other jurisdictions around us have wised up to the point where they say, look, if we're breaking our back, having DEC send in goats, to go eat, invasive species, that's not a joke. It happens. Like, they send goats and they eat them. I think we can do better than goats. Like, you shouldn't be able to go down to the corner, garden center and buy something that is invasive. And so that's another topic for Natasha. If you can just see where we are on that, on like the legal landscape, or whether or not I have to re-up my efforts to try to, because back in the day, the Parks Department just told me no, like, we're not doing it. And I couldn't get the council back in those days just to do it over the Parks Department's objection. And so, but we will look into that. We'll come back more, to look at invasive species, but I interrupted you, so please continue.
No, but the broader point in terms of managing the property that is under our jurisdiction, these natural areas, working closely with a lot of other agencies, and in terms of the monitoring that happens during drought conditions, watch or warning, obviously, the agency, implementing a variety of strategies to make sure that we are monitoring and protecting our natural areas as best as possible.
Yeah, and if you wanted to take out a bunch of Phragmites, it's just like this stuff is everywhere, and so how would that even happen? Like, who comes out and does it? I mean,
yeah. So we have a natural resource group that plans and executes sort of what you might call either reforestation or management efforts of that sort in natural areas throughout our system.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Question on New York City street trees. I think we already sort of did that. Okay. I know that as part of a, if the drought goes to an emergency, I remember when I was reading the very excellent briefing paper that was prepared for me, that DEP can request the water board to raise water rates because of a water shortage emergency, to deter people from using water wastefully. So the question is, has DEP ever requested the water board to raise water rates because of a shortage emergency? And sub-question A, if an increase was implemented, how much will rates increased by. And the next part, any rate increases implemented during a water shortage emergency. Oh, are the rate increases permanent, or are they only in effect during the duration of the emergency? This is really, you know, when we're at like a very desperate stage, but has that ever happened? And is that still, according to my staff, is on the table as one of the tools in the toolbox to sort of cut back on water usage by increasing the cost of water. I'm not criticizing it, I just want to know what's going on. Stumped you, didn't I? No?
Yeah, do you want to? Paul can talk about what we've done historically, but it's only in that very last stage of an emergency that becomes an option, and obviously it would be an option of last resort.
Yep.
But it is something that is available to us to discourage water use.
Okay, yeah. Paul, anything to add on that?
I mean, there was a rate increase in 1989 in that drought emergency. That was in the 80s, back when we had droughts fairly frequent. The drought of 85 and 89 were particularly severe. It was looked at, considered in the last drought, but that did not happen. It did not happen in the last drought. But there is the ability to do that.
That is good to know. I remember during the drought during the 80s, probably none of you were in government at the time, but I was, and Mayor Koch went up to, whether it was Ashokan or wherever it was that where it was?
It was a show cam where they had that.
Yeah, right, and his hands were up, and it was like a picture of him, like, summoning the rain. He was standing in what was presumably like the dry bottom of the now near empty reservoir. And so, were you in government at the time when that happened? Or you just remember it?
I was in West Point when that happened in 85, and 89 I was overseas. But I remember it. I grew up in the Catskills. I remember seeing the photo. Yes, but I wasn't working for the city. I've only been to the city since 92.
Oh, okay, and many people, well, at least I know that you went to West Point. I thank you for your service and the code that you carry to this day. And so, now, were it to be the case that water rates were increased, if it were a situation where water rates were increased because of an emergency, would the rate be permanent, or would it increment down once the drought was over? How does that work? Or is that up to the water board?
That's a decision of the water board. They can make that decision.
Okay. The water board are my friends these days because they have, called out, the mayor's use of the rental payment. I'm not asking anyone here on this panel to comment on it. The rental payment was in existence. There was a good reason for it to be in existence. That reason went away. The use of the rental payment, the mayor requesting the rental payment. Don't worry, you're not going to get a question on this now. I'm just pontificating for the record. And so, so with the mayor declaring that he was going to ask for $1.4 billion in rental payments over a total of 4 budget years. That's, it was $440 million this year, which was the rental payment for FY, we're in FY 25 now, right? We're in FY 25. And then, so he took the whole rental payment for FY 25. He reached back to get half a rental payment from FY 24 for a total of $440 million. And then he has indicated he is going to ask for full rental payments in the next 3 budget years totaling $1.4 billion, which is audacious, and really really impacts DEP's ability to, to borrow money and pay for the needed improvements in stormwater infrastructure that we need, because we have hundreds of millions of dollars in water and sewer fees that are going to the general fund. And I'm doing, and the water board came on board with I guess a resolution, declaring that it did not like to see this practice, and it condemned that action by the mayor. So I don't have the ability to stop him from doing it, but people in the state legislatures do, and we're trying to get that done. And so, yeah, I no way I would ever ask you to comment on that. Okay, with regard to one of the bills about the comprehensive stormwater management plan, here's a good question developed by staff. DEP has stated that the intensity of the 5-year storm for the New York City region will likely be redefined as one that produces 2.1 inches of rain per hour, rather than the current definition or the current standard, which is 1.75 inches of rain per hour, in order to be assimilated into the system. The DEP commissioner himself has testified before this committee that it looks like 2.1 inches is the number. Does DEP expect that it would select 2.1 inches as its new level of service pursuant to the comprehensive stormwater plan bill? Because one of the things it calls for in the bill is what is the new target going to be in the ability of the DEP stormwater system, to accommodate. Now, of course, you can't, there's only so much room under the street. You can't wave a magic wand and have this all done at once, have it financed, have it built, and there will be, of course, methods to try to use, green infrastructure to bring that, capacity to assimilate stormwater up to 2.1 inches per hour. But the question is 2.1 inches the number? Is it looking like that? Or what do they have to say about that?
Well, it's one of the early tasks of the stormwater management plan, subject to appropriation, will be to do a detailed study on the appropriate level of service to get to a new 5-year storm. So more recent data has suggested that the 5-year storm is closer to 2.1 than the 1.75 design criteria that we have, but there's new data out there. There's a variety of studies, and we need to look at the confidence interval that we want to achieve with those numbers. So that'll be a really important first step of the plan.
Yeah, and I think the commissioner himself, well, I better watch it. I'm not sure if I heard this publicly or privately. So how do I proceed now? I don't want to betray any confidence. Let's just say it seems to me that DEP is going to embark upon an approach as to the capacity that it ultimately builds out is going to be, like a very big coefficient in that equation is going to be what it can afford. I think this is a consideration no matter whatever anybody is doing in city government. And so, so rather than necessarily getting, everything we might otherwise need, it's going to come down to what we can afford. You got to go to the bond markets, you got to borrow money, you got to pay that debt service. And I guess my comment on that, wouldn't that be nice if the mayor wasn't stealing between $300 and $400 million a year, legal stealing, because he's allowed to do it. But it used to be in the old days that the rental payment would go to pay back pre-1985, DEP, capital, GO debt, and that number is now zero. And it was never intended for the rental payment to go into the general fund. But now the mayor, at his sweet will, can ask for a rental payment of up to 15% of the debt service of the Water Finance Authority, which he funnels directly into the general fund. And it's kind of like a, secret regressive tax. I'm not even sure he's so much aware. I think this is more like a budget director thing. I used to work for OMB in the Capital Division, and budget directors are well known to grab whatever money they can grab. That's part of the job description. But this, intersectionality of DEP trying to plan how many inches of stormwater capacity it can process, and the money it's going to take to do that, and to borrow to do that, and to pay it back is, severely inhibited by the mayor going in and taking money, directing it to the general fund, when that money could be going to debt service for, bonds that the city has to float in order to, through the Water Finance Authority, to do this. So I'm grateful to the, Water Board for being on board with the end of the rental payment. Very difficult for the city council, once the mayor puts a number in the budget of $440 million, of us to get that number out of the budget, because then we have to come up with $440 million worth of cuts, or in the next budget year, being that he's limited by 15% of the Water Finance Authority debt service in any given year. So in the upcoming budget year, it will be, somewhere like in the mid 300 millions. And that money that could be going towards debt service, so it's a real shame. And I'm going to continue to sort of bang that drum. And I know you like me banging that drum, but you don't have to say it. You don't say it. We have a lot of questions that my okay. There is a resolution in the package calling upon the state to create a permanent citywide voluntary buyout program. And, I know that the administration doesn't testify on resolutions, but there's a question buried in there that gets to Plan YC, which is relevant. And so here it is. In the 2023 Plan YC, the administration stated that it would propose a voluntary land acquisition program to assist residents who live in areas at severe risk of repeat flooding. What progress, if any, has the administration made towards this Plan YC initiative? Is there anybody that could speak to that?
I think that we'd have to probably get back to you in talking with MOCEJ on that resolution, and get you specific numbers.
Pardon?
We'd have to speak to MOCEJ on that program to get you more specific numbers on where things are with it.
Okay, well, yeah, we look forward to that. I'm gonna ask Natasha to sort of follow up on that. Because remember, after this, Austin goes on to bigger and better things, or the many things he was doing before he got stuck with me, So it's gonna be a very happy new year for Austin, And with that said, that, completes all the questions that I had. I wanna thank my good friend Paul and everyone from DEP and the Parks Department. A special shout out to the Parks Chair, Chair Krishnan, who was more than happy, wasn't territorial at all about us asking a bunch of parks questions and stuff like that. I'm much more territorial than he is, and so good for him. I appreciate his, willingness to just have this committee go for it, and talk to parks, and really appreciate the administration being here. Always a pleasure to work with DEP. This is a relationship between me and DEP that's been going on since 1990, and it still continues, and I really appreciate the good work that you do on behalf of the people of New York City and those people north of us who get our water. I'm going to let it go. But it's a real pleasure to have you with us. Happy holidays to all. I'm going to come and say hi. We're going to take like a 5-minute recess. In the meantime, council will line up the witnesses that we have. I know we have some in person. We have some online. Let me just say goodbye to the panel, and then we'll resume. Okay, we're gonna resume now. I have a script that is, oh, here it is on the TV over here. I now open the hearing for public testimony. I remind members of the public that this is a formal government proceeding. I can't see very well. And that decorum shall be observed at all times. As such, members of the public shall remain silent at all times. The witness table is reserved for people who wish to testify. No video recording or photographs is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but may submit transcripts of such recordings to the Sergeant-at-Arms for inclusion in the hearing record. If you wish to speak at today's hearing, please fill out an appearance card with the Sergeant-at-Arms and wait to be recognized. When recognized, you will have 2 minutes to speak on today's hearing topic of the New York City drought, preconsidered introductions. Is that a T? Yeah. T 2024-2829 and T 2024-2810 and Resolution 84. If you have a written statement or additional testimony you wish to submit for the record, please provide a copy of that testimony to the Sergeant-at-Arms. How was that? Oh, one more. Okay. You may also email written testimony to testimony@council.nyc.gov within 72 hours of this hearing. Audio and video recordings will not be accepted. And it's my pleasure to call the first panel. Sarah Evans of Greenwood Historic Fund, and Hayden, what's that? Hayden Brockett of the New York Clean Air Collective. Pleasure to have both of you with us today. We're going to go from my right to my left. So, Sarah, we're gonna open with you. Sure. You got to turn your microphone on.
Yes.
And make sure that the little microphone is right by your. You speak right into it.
How do I sound?
Yep.
All right. Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Sarah Evans, and I serve as Director of the Living Collections at Greenwood Cemetery, a National Historic Landmark and accredited arboretum in Brooklyn. And my testimony is actually touching on something that Council Member Ressler was getting at. So this historic drought, coupled with intense storm events, underscores the importance of green infrastructure, like trees and stormwater management systems. Unlike storms or earthquakes, we're seeing that droughts are slow onset disasters, the effects of which are not seen immediately. The EPA actually advises that the best way to prepare for drought is to develop infrastructure that captures and harvests rainwater, so that we reduce the strain on our water systems, promote infiltration into the soil, and recharge the groundwater whenever it rains. Trees play a vital role in this process, improving water quality, reducing runoff, and cooling our urban environment. However, the benefits of trees are obviously diminished when their health is compromised. This year at Greenwood, we've seen an alarming rate of decline in the health of our mature oak and beech trees specifically. They are succumbing to a range of pathogens due to the prolonged drought and unseasonably warm temperatures. This is a reality check that even our oldest and most established trees in New York are vulnerable to the changing climate, and it highlights the need for proactive care to ensure the longevity of our urban forest. What we've done, with almost $600,000 awarded by the New York State DEC, we are set to plant 1,500 trees over the next year. And we are prioritizing tree species that are more tolerant and adapted to warmer and drier conditions. Additionally, we have just completed a $2 million comprehensive stormwater infrastructure project that was funded in part by the DEP. Oh no, the New York York story.
Please continue.
Okay.
Yeah, please continue.
And the New York State Green Innovation Grant Program, which this infrastructure now manages over 51 million gallons of stormwater annually. We are positioned in Sunset Park primarily, and so this is really critical for Sunset Park, which is a designated EJ, environmental justice area, where our efforts to combat the challenges posed by climate change are occurring. I've included more detail about the green infrastructure projects in this testimony that I will submit online, and the measures we have taken to address the issues posed by drought this year and also storm events. And I invite you all of this committee to visit Greenwood and see the forward-looking work we're doing to benefit our community as we adapt responsibly to our changing climate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've long been a big admirer of Greenwood. It's a great place to visit, and you know, my daughter and I like to go there. And the work that you do is certainly worthy of the attention of, you know, DEC and DEP and other people who could fund your good efforts. And it seems like now you're making a shift towards more drought-resistant types of flora. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's right. And I was speaking to trees specifically, but we're also doing a lot of work in converting our lawn to like prairie and wildflower meadows, all utilizing plants that are all drought resistant. You know, they evolved in drier conditions with less frequent rain. So.
Well, I thank you and all the good folks at Greenwood for all that you do. You know, don't be a stranger to this committee, and if ever, you know, we could be of assistance, you want to meet with us or whatever. I'm very fond of everything that you do there. It's a great institution and environmental, you know, beacon, and plus it's just a great place. I'm like, that guy's buried here? Oh my God, you know, and so that's, thank you very much for being here and weighing in on this topic, and we appreciate your full testimony that you indicated you said you were gonna send in something?
Yeah,
right?
it's a longer version that I'm gonna submit online, yeah.
We look forward to that, and thank you very much
right.
for your testimony here today.
Thank you.
And Hayden, give it to us, Hayden.
All right, thank you, Chair. Thank you, committee staff. As we were talking about water, I'm here to talk about the air, and thank you so much for all that you do on behalf of our environment and our clean air and clean water. My name, as you know, is Hayden Brockett. I'm a founding member of the New York Clean Air Collective. I'm a father and a husband and live on the Upper West Side of Manhattan and participate in the Citizens Air Complaint Program, the CACP. I took time off from work today to testify in support of that program, which is the most successful citizen environmental program in the world, and which is, of course, impacted by Intro 2810. Today, I agree with the DEP's concerns about Intro 2810. I just note that the current program is working. The citizens of New York and DEP, I know you like to call it civilian enforcement,
right.
Chair Gennaro,
yeah.
but we're inclusive. Anyone who lives in New York or doesn't live in New York can participate in the program, and together with the DEP, we are working together to get big companies that include Ryder, Budget, and Enterprise to stop polluting our city. We need to keep the pressure on these companies to electrify, and idling fines are doing exactly what they're supposed to do, that is, hold big companies accountable. So my concerns are that, to my knowledge, there's been no environmental review of Intro 2810. As Deputy Commissioner Rush correctly raised in his testimony, Intro 2810 will clearly affect the environment and by disincentivizing rental companies like Ryder from addressing air pollution. As we all know, the State Environmental Quality Review Act requires an environmental impact statement for all government activities, and at minimum, the council must conduct such a review, and we would request hold a hearing to consider what that review shows before passage of the bill. Furthermore, I'm not aware of any study of Intro 2810's effects on the city's budget. As the DEP correctly noted, passing the fines on to lessees will cause leasing companies to lose their incentive to electrify or install anti-idling technology. Thank you. That will increase.
Please
pollution.
continue. Yeah, please continue.
Thank you, sir. That will increase pollution, which will definitely affect the city's budget by increasing healthcare costs, asthma attacks, and deaths. And so we believe there must be a thorough review of Intro 2810's budget effects. And Chair, just to address your concern about fairness, obviously the Avis, Enterprise, Budget, and Ryder are companies, and they deserve a fair hearing. The reality is that these companies, however, own the trucks that are polluting our city, then they rent them for profit. They have a responsibility for putting that pollution into our city, and they need to modify their behavior and their equipment by electrifying their fleets and ensuring that their trucks cannot illegally idle in the city. They own that equipment. They are more than capable of recouping their fees from their lessees. And so my question, thinking about this bill, I understand sort of common sense, but why would we put the burden on the city agencies to track down payments from those lessees? The companies own the trucks. They can do that work. Or better yet, they can modify their behavior and not get any idling fines at all. So while I am concerned about Intro 2810's effects on the CACP, I'm grateful today for your work, Chairman Gennaro, on behalf of our air and water. You and your staff are dedicated, I know, to fixing the poor air quality that we suffer from in New York, which obviously was hurt by the wildfires. But even without the wildfires, poor air quality kills 3,000 New Yorkers a year. And I just want to put in a plug that I'm really grateful for the DEP's staff, the frontline reviewers who administer the program. They do hard jobs, and they need to be fairly compensated. And just one final thing about 2810, we're already at a place with the program that it's so successful that if you submit a complaint today, it's not going to get a hearing for another 18 months. Up to maybe, we're approaching 2 years, and that's
What's that now? Sorry, could you say that
Sure,
again?
we're at this point right now that if a citizen goes out in the street and observes a truck idling and records it and submits to DEP today, DEP, because of its resource constraints, will not be able to review that complaint. It can take up to 6 months to review the complaint, and then they'll set the hearing date out another 18 months. So as a result, it's not fair to companies. They deserve their day in court. And it's not fair to the citizens who won't, obviously get won't see the impact of their work for about 2 years. And the reason I'm bringing that up, Chair, is that 2810 is going to bring an additional administrative burden to the DEP because it requires them to set up a new rule, and then it requires the DEP to take the information that comes from the companies and then go track down, well, hey, Joe Blow, or maybe, someone from out of state or out of the country rented our truck. Now the DEP has to go, or the Department of Finance has to go chase those, and Oath has to go track those down. And so that extra step, while I understand it makes common sense, when you think about it from the impact on our limited resources at the DEP, it's going to mean that there's going to be more work for the people. And I only bring that up because the folks who do the review are not paid a lot of money. And they need to be paid more. They need to be fairly compensated. And you and I have talked about this, that the city brings in $50 million as a result of this program, but none of that goes to DEP. And I know that's not something that you control or that Commissioner Agarwala controls, but that reality is I just would hesitate to want to put more administrative burden on the folks who are already working really hard to make this program work. So thank you so much for your time, Chair Gennaro, and for holding this hearing.
Hayden, it's always good to talk to you and get your common sense perspective. You make a lot of sense, and this is why we have hearings. And have you talked to Eric Goldstein lately? He's looking for you.
I have not yet. I'm happy to talk to him. Thank you for the heads up.
You know what? Why don't you come by and why don't you take a piece of paper and just write your email address and give it to the sergeant, and sergeant give it to me, because I know he's trying to get in touch with you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, and so.
I've got a pen and I'll get the piece of paper.
Yeah, and I want to make sure you just give it to the sergeant, he'll give it to us, and then Josh, just make sure that we get, Eric Goldstein and Hayden to talk, because we got old business to work through. Well, it's current business, but it's not today's business. Yeah, so just write that down, and if you're comfortable giving your cell phone number, whatever you're comfortable with Eric Goldstein having, that'd be
not a problem. I'm happy to talk with Eric.
I think this panel did a great job. What do you think? I think they're good. Okay, thank you very much. We'll be, yeah, just give that to Josh Sargent, and then we're good. So thank you very much for being here. You both provided very valuable testimony. Appreciate you taking time off work, coming from Brooklyn, to be with us here today and to be patient, and so we appreciate that. Happy holidays. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye. We will now turn to remote testimony. Once your name is called, a member of our staff will unmute you, and the Sergeant-at-Arms will give you the go-ahead to begin. Please wait, I repeat, please wait for the Sergeant-at-Arms to announce that you may begin before delivering your testimony. And the first witness, Eric Eisenberg.
Starting time.
Hello, I'm Eric Eisenberg. I am here to speak about Jim Gennaro's bill to transfer liability for idling offenses. I agree with a lot of what Mr. Brock had said, so I'll try to keep this brief. But I am a little disappointed that there doesn't seem to have been any reach out to the members of the New York community who report idling to inform them of this hearing, so that might affect the number of people you get speaking today. Initially, I applaud the general idea of making sure summonses go to the person or entity most responsible for air pollution, but believe that in view of potential economic and environmental unintended consequences, the bill needs additional economic and environmental review prior to any vote. It would, of course, be beneficial for lessees to understand their obligations with respect to the idling law and to comply with it. But simply properly funding the DEP to be able to issue tickets and hold hearings on those tickets promptly may accomplish this goal just as well or better than the bill. Rental companies are already well positioned to deal with idling tickets and to avoid idling. They are repeat players, often with large fleets, and understand these idling tickets and how to appear at oath hearings. They can opt for electric vehicles that will not receive idling tickets. They can install true non-overridable auto shutoffs and likewise prevent tickets. One company, CC Rental, went so far as to provide a prominent anti-idling educational campaign to each of their renters. By shifting the legal consequences of trucks' air pollution away from the rental companies, the rental companies lose their incentive to engage in these beneficial practices, and air pollution in New York City may well increase. Moreover, rental companies already regularly agree with their lessees in the rental contract that the lessees will be responsible for any idling tickets, even without this bill. These contracts put the lessees on notice that they must not pollute unnecessarily. The problem, though, is that DEP is so slow in issuing summonses and scheduling hearings, often years out, that the lessees may, come hearing time, be unreachable and unbillable.
Your time is expired. Thank you.
You know what, Mr. Eisenberg, I'm going to cut you a little slack. Please continue.
Having the city write tickets to a no longer reachable renter based on outdated contact information is not the solution to this problem. The solution to this problem is giving the badly underfunded DEP Air Enforcement Division appropriate resources to promptly issue tickets with prompt hearing dates. The funding would more than pay for itself, not only in fine revenue, but also in environmental benefit. This funding solution has been repeatedly recommended at prior environmental hearings, including budget hearings, by many individuals and by the DEP itself. But for some reason, the city's budgets never seem to adequately fund this self-funding idling program. Unfortunately, requiring the DEP to create and run a transfer liability program may well further burden its too limited resources and further delay summons issuance and hearing dates, creating lasting environmental damage. In sum, while this bill is well-intentioned and much better overall than Intro 941, I recommend that the city closely review it from a financial and CEQA-mandated environmental perspective, considering alongside the bill the alternative solution of appropriately funding the DEP's anti-idling program. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. If only all the witnesses that came before the committee were able to put forward a cogent very directed. See, I can't even do it. It was. That's why I wanted to give you a little more the here. You indicated that not a lot of people knew about the hearing. We had Hayden here, but I think you spoke most eloquently on the part of the folks that are a valuable part of this program. You made excellent points, and they will be given all due consideration. We appreciate your appearance before the committee today. Thank you very much, and happy holidays. And the next witness, Michelle Lubke from the Swim Coalition. Michelle Lubke from the Swim Coalition. Wait for the sergeant.
Starting time.
Thank you to the committee for providing the opportunity to deliver public testimony on behalf of the Swim Coalition, asking for consideration of key issues while deliberating the need for City Council oversight of urban stormwater flooding, combined sewer overflows, and green infrastructure in New York City through a comprehensive stormwater plan. Stormwater Infrastructure Matters, SWIM Coalition, is a group of 70 organizations dedicated to ensuring the mandates of the Clean Water Act, swimmable and fishable waters in New York City through sustainable stormwater management practices, including both green and gray infrastructure. SWIM Coalition member organizations endorse a truly sustainable view of watershed management, one that restores ecological systems, creates local economic opportunities, and equitably distributes the numerous benefits of green infrastructure. The next decade is critical in terms of how we address our stormwater and climate change related challenges in New York City, from storms that cause catastrophic flooding to current unprecedented and historic drought conditions. New York City's water infrastructure has become more burdened than ever. The time to adapt is now. Swim Coalition supports a comprehensive citywide stormwater plan that prioritizes natural and nature-based solutions and prioritizes rectifying historic injustices by allocating resources to historically disadvantaged communities. Unless the proposed comprehensive stormwater management plan supersedes all other plans with additional directives and updated projections using climate change-informed future rainfall levels. What is needed is to expedite the CSO long-term control plans, stormwater management plans, and green infrastructure plan. These existing plans are slated to be completed by 2030 to 2042 using rainfall projections from 2008. Additionally, we continue to strongly advocate for a stormwater rate restructure to fund stormwater-related projects, which will appropriately value the cost of stormwater to the city. We are submitting a more extensive written testimony with key concerns and requests for clarifications on Intro 2849. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. We're always happy to partner with the Swim Coalition. You folks make a great contribution to the debate on this really important issue, and it's always great to deal with people who are, dedicated, who are informed and outspoken. So you need all three elements in order to be effective, and that is the Swim Coalition. Thank you very much for your appearance before us today, and please give my best wishes to all the members of the Swim Coalition on behalf of this committee and the council. Thank you. And the next witness, appearing to be the last witness, Christopher Gawarecki of Hub Truck Rental Corporation. Hope I pronounced the last name right. Please wait for the signal from the sergeant before you commence your testimony.
Starting time.
Good afternoon. Nice to see the committee. Thanks for letting me testify. My name is Christopher Gawarecki with Hub Truck Rental Corporation. We have approximately 627 lease customers that operate in the New York metro area. We strongly support the pre-considered legislation here regarding the transfer of liability. Every other department has it. The New York City Department of Finance has it. For parking tickets, Easy Pass has it. Most law enforcement agencies have it. We're not talking about short-term rentals, transient customers that have a truck for a day, 2 days, a week. We're talking about lease customers with a certified lease that have these trucks from approximately 6 to 7 years, and the trucks are clearly marked with the less ease information, including the name, the address, and the DOT. I've attended a lot of these hearings since they are written to Hub because we do own the trucks, but it's quite frustrating when you see a violation that is written to the lease customer with the lease customer's information, and then it's resulted in Hub receiving the violation. So basically, Hub Truck Rental is the middleman. We do not charge our lease customers outright. We send the violation to them to see how they want to handle it. If they do not handle the violation, then we'll pay the fine, invoice them back, or attend the hearing. So this has been a huge administrative burden on the leasing industry. And again, we're not talking about rental trucks. Rental trucks have Hub's lettering on it. That I can see Hub receiving. It's long-term lease customers that are getting these citizen idling violations. They're not getting them, some of them are getting them directly, and then others are sent to Hub, which then we have to send to the lease customer. So administratively, every other law enforcement agency, red light camera tickets, school bus camera tickets, there's always a transfer of liability option. That's why there is a certificate of lease.
Thank you, Christopher, for your good testimony. I'm trying to do something fair. I'm trying to do something right. There's a lot of, balancing that needs to go on, but your testimony was, most compelling and probably appropriate that we close the hearing, I think. I'm going to be seeing if there's anyone else that wishes to be heard. I'm glad that we got your testimony on the record, and as I indicated, it was, most compelling. And thank you for your appearance before us today. We appreciate you advocating on behalf of the industry and on behalf of myself and the committee. We wish you and your company happy holidays. Thank you. If we inadvertently missed anyone who registered to testify today and has yet to be called, please use the Zoom raise hand function. If you're testifying remotely, and you'll be called in the order that your hand has been raised. If you are testifying in person, please come to the dais. Contact the sergeant. Anyone going once, going twice? And isn't there a closeout statement I'm supposed to make? Seeing none, I'll now close the hearing. Thank you to the members of the administration and the members of the public who have joined us today. And before I say the hearing is adjourned, let me say once again, it's been great to be served by our great counsel, Austin Malone, who has been, working at a title, so to speak, with everything else he has to do at the council. One of the drawbacks of being really good is that everybody wants you, and they know that they can pile more on your plate, and it'll get done. So we thank Austin in a very in a very grateful way, and we look forward to Natasha and Sierra, carrying on the council duties or duties as counsel for the committee, and we look forward to the year ahead. Before we do that, we have holidays that we have to do the right thing by, and we wish everyone within the sound of the voice of this committee happy and healthy holiday season, and blessed and prosperous new year. And with that, this hearing is adjourned.